Alright everyone, so this video we're gonna go over variables. Now variables are very easy to understand. I hope I explained this clearly enough because once you get it, you're never gonna forget it and it's gonna be easy. So a variable is simply a place where we can store numbers and values that we've used further up in the program. So let's say we want to store some kind of number. We can say int for an integer primitive type, like in the last video. We can give it a name, and so I'm just going to call it test. And then we can say equals and then give it a number, so let's say 103. What we've done here is we have said that the test, the variable named test, is an integer of value 103. So now if I use the print out code system.out.println and I say print out test, what we're going to get here is 103. Now, some things to know about variables is that they can be reassigned. So if I now said test equals 86, like so, and then pressed this again, I would now get 86 because test has been reassigned. And what you might have noticed is that I didn't write int the second time. And that is because once you declare a variable, once I declare int test, I don't need to redeclare that variable. Actually, if I try to declare another variable with the same name of a different type, it is not going to let me. We're going to get a compiler error because once you've given a variable a name and a type, it has to stay that way. Also, what you can do, obviously, as I showed you from the primitive types before, is you can give variables different types. So let's say we do want a decimal number, a double, and we might call this decimal, like so. We can do that instead. Now, here's the thing. You are allowed to declare variables using other variables. So let's have a look at this. I'm going to say int test2 equals 67, like so. And then I'm going to come down here and say int test3 equals test2. Now, if I print test3, like so, and press play, we see we get 67 because test2 equals 67 and test3 equals test2, which equals 67. And so you can assign variables by using other variables. There's nothing stopping you from doing this kind of thing. However, there is a funny little thing I want to show you. Now, let's say I wanted to make the int test3 this here. It's not going to let me, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, I can't do that, and that's because an integer cannot be a double, right? An integer has to be a whole number, but a decimal, a double can be a decimal number, so the Java doesn't know how to convert these. It doesn't know what it needs to do to make your decimal into an integer. Now, though, that doesn't always occur when you're trying to give things different types. So let's have a look if we try and do this the other way around. Let's say I say double decimal 2, like so, equals test. Test is an integer, decimal 2 is a double, but it still allows me to do this, and that's because Java does have ways to automatically convert certain types. Now, I don't recommend you doing things like this unless you absolutely know what you're doing. You should make sure that all the types stay consistent, but just be aware that it is possible to do this. Now, I'm going to show you what happens here. If I now print out decimal 2, which equals test, so decimal 2 is going to equal 103. If I press play, like so, it's going to print out 103.0 because it has converted 103 to a double, and doubles always have this lingering 0.0 even when they're whole numbers. That's all for now, guys. If you want to see more tutorials or more student-made content, make sure to check out the TVM YouTube channel. I will see you next time.